Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Mr. Paulson, thank you very much for your testimony. Mr. Paulson, I think that you would agree with me that, I'm going back to some questions Mr. Kanjorski asked you. You would agree with me, even with those emergency circumstances that you found yourself in, there's no reason to suspend ethical behavior, is there? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely not.
All right. And it is interesting that as I read your testimony, and I read it several times, that you have expressed tremendous concern about and the people of America. I was just wondering, were you aware of the Merrill Lynch $3+ billion worth of bonuses they were about to give out when this deal came down?
No, I wasn't.
And when did you find out about that $3+ billion in bonuses that the American people basically ended up paying?
I have my best memory of this was sometime around the middle of January, the day or so before we were putting this deal together, and when we were talking about the compensation restrictions for B of A. And I'm not entirely certain, but I have a memory that someone on my staff said, and in terms of Merrill Lynch, their bonuses have already been paid.
Do you think that was fair to the American people, to stockholders? And I mean, basically what ended up is that the American people pretty much ended up paying Merrill Lynch's $3 billion plus bonuses that were apparently given out just before this deal went through. You understand that, right?
Well, I do understand the bonuses were paid before the deal went through.
Do you think that's fair? And do you think that's ethical?
In terms of, those are two different words.
Well, then why don't we start with ethical first?
Okay. In terms of ethical, I'm not sure I would call that unethical, that Merrill Lynch paid out bonuses before the deal went through. Now, whether that is something that should have been done is another question.
Do you think it should have been done?
I wasn't there. I didn't make the decision. I don't think I should be judging that today.
Well, you judged everything else. You made a judgment with regard to Mr. Lewis. You made a judgment when you said that you felt that it would be a colossal lack of judgment for him to push the mat. You made judgments all along where you made decisions affecting the American economy. So why suddenly you wash your hands of this? You've been bragging up there this morning all this time about the judgments you have made.
Yes, but I do not have all the facts on this situation.
Let me ask you this. I'd like to clarify something that you testified to this morning. A letter we received from Mr. Bernanke and handwritten notes we received under subpoena indicate that it was Mr. Lewis who first brought up the issue of receiving a bailout. Is it true that it was Bank of America who first brought up the bailout?
I'm not sure exactly how it came up, but it very well could have been. I sure know that it was with 100% certainty. It was Bank America that came to us, said they've got the losses, and said they have a major problem, and we're considering triggering the MAC clause. All
right. So in December of 2008, did you promise Mr. Lewis that you would provide Bank of America with enough capital to fill the $12 billion quote hole unquote created? Let me finish. Let me answer. I want you to answer the whole question. Created by the losses at Merrill Lynch, or would it be fair to say that you at least intimated to Mr. Lewis that he could count on an amount equal to Merrill's losses in December?
We weren't as specific in terms of the amount and the losses, but we more than intimated. We were both Ben Bernanke and I were very clear that we were committed to working with him to come up with a support program that we thought would work.
Let's talk about Goldman Sachs for a moment. Immediately before becoming Secretary of Treasury, you were the chairman and CEO of Goldman Sachs, were you not?
Absolutely.
And as Treasury Secretary, you asked then Goldman board member Ed Liddy to take over as head of AIG. Is that correct?
Yes.
Goldman has subsequently been revealed to be the largest recipient of AIG's counterparty payments, benefiting to the tune of more than $13 billion after AIG was bailed out. I note that the firm repeatedly claimed that its exposure to AIG was fully hedged, and it was not material to the firm. Just this week, Goldman posted a record $3.44 billion in quarterly profits and plans to give out billions of dollars worth of bonuses to the tune of $600,000 for on the average of 28,000 employees. I just asked you one question, and this is my last question. The people in my district who are losing their homes, their insurance, the ones you talked about in your statement, their homes, their insurance, everything they've got, some of them elderly going about to work, you know what they asked me? They said, Cummings, that money that those folks are getting on Wall Street, those millions and billions, is that our money? Because our money went somewhere. We don't know where it went, but we know people are getting millions and billions of dollars. What about us? What about us who are out of work? What about us who can't send our kids to college in September after they've done everything they're supposed to do to prepare for college? What about us who don't have a house? What about us? You keep telling us that the storm is going to be over, but when the storm's over, who's going to be living in my house? What about them? And they're asking the question, is some of this money their money?
Mr. Cummings,
I just want to be able to answer them when I go home tonight.
I want to say two things. First of all, I want you to know that I had no role whatsoever in any of the Fed's decisions regarding payments to any of AIG's creditors or counterparties, number one. Secondly, what I would say to you is the thing that bothers you bothers me, because the people that are paying the price had nothing to do with the problem. But the sad truth is that if these companies had gone down, they'd be paying a bigger price. There would be more foreclosures. There would be more people that are unemployed. And so you are absolutely right in asking the question. You should keep asking the question. This is a terrible thing, and that's why I believe you and the other members of Congress need to work so hard to put in the kinds of regulatory reforms and the kinds of powers that we need to have in place to make sure we don't have to go through something like this again.
I see my time is up. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I thank the gentleman. Congressman Bilbray.
Thank you, Madam Chair.